Hi everyone, my name is Annette Petersen. In this short video I will present our paper called We Would Never Write That Down, Classifications of Unemployed and Data Challenges for AI. This paper is co-authored by Associate Professor Lars Rune Christensen, Professor Richard Harper and Professor Thomas Hillebrand, and was written during my PhD studies at the IT University of Copenhagen based on ethnographic fieldwork conducted in a Danish job center. The paper focuses on the perspective of caseworkers and the decisions that they make about unemployed welfare seekers as they handle their cases. The fieldwork was conducted as part of a larger interdisciplinary research project at a time where the municipality was looking for ways to introduce AI to predict and thereby counter long-term unemployment of its citizens. AI systems are increasingly entering the field of public administration with the promises of making better decisions than people, and they are often used to profile and predict people's futures. Take, for example, ASTA, a so-called AI assistant that was recently introduced in many Danish job centers with the promise that with AI technology, it becomes possible for us to see what is required for an unemployed person to get a job, and it can deliver a better match than the caseworkers will be able to. To succeed, these systems need to be based on a solid understanding of how decisions about unemployed welfare seekers are in fact made. At its very core, the unemployment system in Denmark is designed to get people off benefits and back into employment, and as part of the cases, caseworkers are required to determine and record the employability of welfare seekers. Caseworkers, as you can see here, have two categories to choose from. Those who are either ready to work within 3 months or those who are ready for activation measures needed to become employable. These categories are legally known as Match Group 2.2 and 2.3. The problem is that in practice, welfare seekers often do not fit into these prescriptive standards. Instead, many get stuck in a grey area of the unemployment system where they are not well enough to manage a normal job, but on the other hand, they can't document a permanent inability to work either. When making decisions about the rights and duties of citizens, our findings show, as you can see in this table, that caseworkers choose to create their own classifications of citizens, which, according to them, add necessary nuances into the category work that they're legally and formally required to do. What they do basically is making the formal categories work. These classifications are of people's personal character, and they include words such as heavy or light or permanent people, or those with an addiction, and according to the caseworkers, these classifications are of such a moral character that even though they are communicated internally and key to the decisions that they make about welfare seekers and their rights and duties, they are kept off the record. It turns out that for moral reasons, the caseworkers find their own classifications to be ill-suited for formal representation and for predictive purposes. As our findings shows, according to the caseworkers, the meaning of classifications depend on their context. The way classifications are selected, used, combined, and configured by caseworkers is oriented to the topic at hand. Caseworkers are therefore also very cautious when generalizing from one instance to make claims about another, and they worry that by writing down the classifications, they become standards. Caseworkers believe that people can and will change, and changing people's lives is at the very core of their job. Making the descriptions visible to the record and thus traceable to AI would, as reported in our study, take the classifications out of the field of human accountability and the actual situations in which the decisions that they represent are undertaken. Keeping the classifications invisible thus allow the caseworkers to share, use, reuse, and change sensitive information without the fear that it will end up in the hand of outsiders or as formal representation, where it may be used for different purposes as well. As a result of these findings, our paper raises awareness of the discretionary judgments of caseworkers in the early stages of AI design. This perspective is largely ignored in previous research on data work in AI, and we know little about the work that goes into producing data and its consequences for the resulting datasets used by AI systems in the end. In our case, by taking the perspective of caseworkers, we find that it is not just about whether AI tools can do predictions, as previous research suggests. Instead, it becomes a question about whether the information made available to such tools would be sufficiently comprehensive. In the same way, our paper contributes to CSCW by shifting the focus from the technical capabilities or incapabilities in design to moral questions about which data should be made available outside context of use and for what purposes. It also raises the important questions about who decides what problems AI should solve to begin with and on what grounds. I'm looking forward to discuss these questions in further detail as part of the conference. Please feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions or if you just want to chat or coffee. Thank you very much.